Question number 2, Jono Naylor.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance. What steps is the government taking to increase surpluses and start repaying debt?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, as the budget outlined, the forecasts are for growing surpluses and debt falling below 20% of GDP by 2020. The government has achieved balanced books so far by focusing on getting results rather than spending more money. We continued the approach of small additional allowances in Budget 2016 with a net operating allowance of $1.6 billion per year. This compared with the 8th and 9th budgets of the previous government, which averaged $4.3 billion of new money per year.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Jono Naylor.
How is the government seeking to better manage its balance sheet to assist with debt reduction?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, the amount of assets the government owns continues to grow every year, and currently the New Zealand taxpayer owns $280 billion worth of assets. So even small improvements in their management can drive significant gains. Budget 2016 allocated $1.4 billion of new money for capital expenditure. However, because of capital recycling, we're actually spending around $2.6 billion of new money. The drive to better use our balance sheet follows on from the government share offer program, which freed up $4.7 billion for the Future Investment Fund to reinvest in new assets rather than having to borrow to pay for the government's new capital investment.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Jono Naylor.
What are some of the assets that have been provided by the $4.7 billion Future Investment Fund without having to borrow?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, the Future Investment Fund, which has now been used, has allowed for significant investments in new roads, schools and hospitals. It also provided $1.3 billion towards projects in the Canterbury rebuild. And outside these headline measures, it also allowed for further investment in core infrastructure for the government and the country. That is, investment in the security intelligence services, ultra-fast broadband, smart gates at the border, our contribution to international organisations, contribution to refugee resettlement facilities, and also helping to free up land for more housing.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Jono Naylor.
How is the government's focus on fiscal prudence supporting the wider economy?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, probably the most important contribution is that it has meant the government is focusing on the productivity of its own services. That is, getting better results for the money that we're spending. Around 70% of the New Zealand economy is services, and about half of those services are government-run services. So the best contribution we can make to the broader economy is to make sure our own services are more productive. That is, when we spend money, we get results for New Zealanders.
Question number 3.